right now on 5 on your side at 10.
A handful of stronger storms moved through our area earlier today. Our highest wind gusts in the region, and when we'll see our next round of rain coming up.
Vacate or face arrest. Tenants in North County say those are their only two options. Tonight, the I-Team is getting them answers. Our top story, nurses on the front line, taking a hard line on this Labor Day.
We need them to listen to us so that we can better care for our patients.
Tonight, the demands of SLU nurses to address what they call a crisis in care.
Good evening and thank you for joining us at 10 o'clock. I'm Holden Kerwicki. Mike and Ann have the night off. Nurses at St. Louis University Hospital voted to authorize a strike over the weekend. They've been without a contract since June. Laura Barcheski is live outside of the hospital. And Laura, the biggest demand is more staffing?
It is, Holden. They say that the staffing shortages have gotten so bad that they have had trouble adequately caring for patients. They say something has to change. For months, St. Louis University Hospital nurses have been picketing and fighting for a new union contract that focuses on safety.
A lot of the nurses that you see that have left the bedside leave because it's not safe. And they want to be able to go home to their families knowing that, hey, I'm going to be okay. And this job itself isn't going to take me out with it.
Nurse Rachel Williams says because they are so short-staffed, they're working a lot of overtime and taking on a lot more patients.
If you have 6 patients, that's 10 minutes each that you have with those patients. That's not enough. That's not fair to them, their families, or any of it.
National Nurses United union steward Sarah DeWilde says in this new contract, they want to see more education opportunities, a raise, and ultimately more staff, just to name a few things.
If I'm safe, I know that my patient and all the other ones are going to be safe. So there's evidence that says if you have more bodies on the unit, if you have more people looking out for other people, you're going to be safer.
Williams says they truly don't want to go on strike, but are running out of options.
But it's not what's best for our patients. But if that's what we need to do to be heard and let them know that, hey, we're serious, like help us, help them. We are the ones dealing with the patients. We are the ones at bedside. We have that expertise. Listen to us.
I reached out to SSM for a statement and have not heard back as it is a holiday. The nurses tell me that this Thursday they have another meeting with hospital leaders and are hoping to reach some sort of agreement. But if not, they will continue to consider that strike. Reporting live in St. Louis, Laura Barcheski, 5 on your side.
Laura, thank you. Tonight, we could be just days away from auto workers walking off the job at plants across the country. That includes thousands of workers at GM plant in Wentzville. The United Auto Workers contract with General Motors, Stellantis, and Ford ends on September 14th.
We've seen a decade of record profits. I mean, our members made massive sacrifices. We were blamed for everything that was wrong with these companies back in the recession, which was wrong. It was false. It's one of the biggest lies ever told.
The UAW wants a 46% pay raise and a 32-hour work week and the return of traditional pensions. The automakers argue the union's demands are unrealistic as the world shifts from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles. Some rain is lingering around St. Louis tonight. For some of you, the long holiday weekend ended with some isolated storms and some strong winds. Weather First meteorologist Gary Frank is in for Scott tonight. He's tracking more chances of storms tomorrow. Gary.
Yeah, it was a loud night for some of us. Some very locally heavy rain, but now it's much quieter overall. We'll still see chances over the next couple of days, but much like today, some of you missed out on the rain completely. It's quiet at the moment as we look in St. Charles. The big picture shows that where that rain moved through and that leading edge really produced that wind, and then we kind of fizzled out. Most of that rain's in Carbondale and Mount Vernon. You may see a few light showers, but look what it did to our temperatures as we were much warmer today, once again in the low to mid 90s by 2 o'clock. And then you had a couple of pop-up showers that knocked Florissant down at 85. And that's what we started out with, these little pop-up storms here and there where you could see things cooled off, where it was 91 in Florissant, but 80 in Arnold. And then all of a sudden that main burst has brought us now to where we are in the low 70s. It's much quieter, it's much cooler, and the next several hours we'll continue to look at temps holding steady right at 75 at the airport. 68 our dew points, come down a little bit, some drier air settling in. I can't rule out a spot storm tonight. However, I think we'll see a better opportunity over the next 24 hours. That's what we'll track for you ahead and talk about a main cold front, which will eventually end our rain chances and bring down our humidity.
All right, thank you, Gary. Tonight, a man is under arrest after a woman was found dead in the yard of a Ferguson home. St. Louis County Police found the victim's body overnight in the 7400 block of Blanding Drive. They say the body was hidden under a wheelbarrow, wrapped in bed sheets and plastic. Her name and the cause of death have not been released, but investigators say she suffered blunt force trauma. Prosecutors have charged Rodney Hubbard with second-degree murder and tampering with evidence. This is the same home that was the scene of a deadly shooting last summer. Tonight we learned the identity of a man who drowned at Rockford Beach in Jefferson County last month. It happened back on August 12th. Investigators say 43-year-old Andres Gutierrez was walking across the rocks when he fell into the Big River and never resurfaced. It was the second drowning at the popular beach this summer. An 18-year-old from Jefferson County who was paralyzed on the job earlier this summer is making progress in his recovery. New tonight, Travis Cummings shows us how his family and the community are working to get him back home.
You can do it. Got it.
There's already promise in this young man's path.
The child still smiles. He's still so happy. And I'm just completely blown away by his strength.
Tabitha Hardy is sharing in that strength to support her 18-year-old son, Jordan Ayers. Ayers was unloading tables for an event company back in June when one slipped and hit his head and caused him to snap his neck. Now the recent high school grad is paralyzed from the waist down, but on the road to recovery.
He's not controlled completely, but he still can move his arms. He's fed himself a few times. He's brushed his own teeth.
Ayers has spent most of his summer in rehab in Chicago. Meanwhile, thanks to the generosity of his community, things are shaping up back at home. Outside of his home in Arnold sits a large shed donated by Lowe's.
The best shed I've ever seen in my life. It's got skylights, and it's huge, and it's durable. It's got a floor. I'm so amazed.
Behind that, a new ramp built by the Spire crew.
He's going to be able to come in and out of this like it's meant to be here.
That's all thanks to Kevin Wilson. Pictured to Ayers is right here, a school resource officer.
Being involved with these kids, you always want to see them succeed, when they graduate. And it was devastating to hear when I heard what happened after he had graduated.
Take a look here. Jordan's family has cleared out the entire living room to make room for his new bed, his lift, things that people have provided in order to help him function when he gets home in a couple of weeks.
This is Jordan, this is Jordan, this is Jordan.
It'll be a warm welcome.
I'm not going to treat him like he's any different. That'll give him support. And then I'm also going to tell him, he's going to power through this.
Ayers' family is fighting too to make sure he still has a fruitful future.
When he comes home, it's gonna be better. It's gonna be better for him.
Travis Cummings, 5 on your side.
Nearly $9,000 has been raised on GoFundMe for Ayers. He'll be returning home in 2 weeks from a rehab facility in Chicago. His family says they're still waiting for his last check for his employer. As of 2 hours ago, a major hospital system in Illinois says more of its services and phone lines are back up and running after a cyber attack. HSHS Hospitals, which includes St. Elizabeth's in the Metro East, says patients can now schedule elective and non-elective procedures. The hospital says it's still not collecting payments on outstanding medical bills at this time, but have heard reports that some patients have received collection calls. New tonight, our I-Team is looking at the housing crisis that's growing in Missouri. Tenants at an apartment complex in the village of Riverview say they were threatened to leave by force as their homes crumble. Tonight, senior investigative reporter Paula Vassan found housing situations are getting worse and sometimes going as far as evictions.
Does anyone have a place to go?
No.
Their homes are falling apart.
There's no pretty much electricity, running water is on and off.
It's just a mess.
We all forgot.
Their lives in limbo.
My apartment has been vandalized. They've taken my stove, my refrigerator.
Danita Hardison is not just struggling with her housing, but her health too.
I have bone marrow cancer.
Her struggles have gotten so much worse. A couple weeks ago, she and her neighbors found this note on their doors from the village of Riverview, demanding they be out in 30 days. They say village leaders and police showed up with a threat.
He said if anybody's here the day after on the 16th, they're going to be arrested.
We discovered that's not legal, and village officials have since changed their tune. They're now going through the legal court process. pushing the landlord to either make this place livable or condemning the building and forcing people out. It's a tough process, made worse by the fact this property has changed hands at least 4 times in the last 3 years. Residents tell the I-Team there's such little communication. Some people realized too late they were sending their rent checks to the wrong place. We're told the building's owner is Nevada-based Hughes Private Capital. Our calls to the company go nowhere.
The number you dialed is not in service at this time.
Attorneys say the company is going through bankruptcy, which could be why everything from maintenance to repairs have stopped.
Housing experts tell me these problems reflect a lack of affordable housing. Data shows evictions in our area are rising, with more evictions filed this summer than any similar period since 2020.
It's a crisis.
Attorney Eli Gross believes the numbers reveal just a fraction of the real problem.
In terms of the illegal ones, those are so underreported. We really don't know what those numbers are.
He's with a nonprofit called the St. Louis Mediation Project.
We provide mediation services to landlords, renters, homeowners, and even sometimes local governments.
His goal, to avoid eviction. But he says resources like his cannot keep up with the need. It means people like Hardison are waiting for answers, waiting for a lifeline.
I don't have anywhere to go because they collected my rent money for this month, so I don't have the money to try to relocate.
These families need alternative housing, and the public officials, they're not doing that.
For the I-Team, Paula Vasan, 5 on your side.
Village of Riverview officials and local nonprofits like Action St. Louis tell the I-Team that we'll be in touch with residents soon about next steps and relocation resources. If you've got a tip for our I-Team, you can leave a voice message at 314-444-5231. You can also email Paula directly. That email address is tips@ksdk.com. All calls and correspondence will be kept confidential.
Overtime pay. Millions more Americans could soon be eligible to earn. Tonight, our Verify team looks into the ETA on expanded OT. Family and football.
They're very competitive, and they're great leaders.
The youngest of 7 brothers now carrying out a family tradition of winning and leadership at SLU High.
Even areas that didn't get a severe thunderstorm got a peak wind speed of 40 to 50 miles an hour, even 53 miles an hour at Lambert ahead of that storm. Now things are quieting down for now, but another round on the way when we could see our next round of storms before a cool down.
The annual Labor Day parade was held this morning in Belleville. Union members marched in the streets. This year, they were celebrating the passage of the Workers' Rights Amendment, which bans so-called right-to-work laws in Illinois' state constitution. On this Labor Day, the White House says it's making a big change that could benefit millions of American workers. Tonight, Casey Decker with our Verify team looks into what this may mean for your paycheck.
Labor groups are celebrating a new move from the federal government that supporters called a big win for workers. They said the Department of Labor is taking steps to expand the right to overtime pay to more than 3 million new people. So let's verify. Would a new rule from the Biden administration expand who's eligible for overtime? Our sources are the Department of Labor, the Fair Labor Standards Act, and the Code of Federal Regulations. Congress mandated overtime pay for millions of employees when it passed the Fair Labor Standards Act in 1938. The law created the 40-hour work week and says that nearly all blue-collar workers and some white-collar workers must get paid extra for every hour they work above that. But many white-collar employees who work on salary are not eligible for overtime. They can become eligible if they meet one of 2 criteria. 1, if their job duties don't meet the legal definitions of executive, administrative, or professional. 2, if their salary is below a certain threshold. Over the decades, that federal threshold has been raised a few times, most recently by the Trump administration in 2019. And now the Biden administration is proposing to raise it again. At the moment, the threshold sits at $684 a week, or a little more than $35,000 a year. The new regulation would make it $1,059 a week, a salary of roughly $55,000 a year. That means with only a few exceptions, if you make less than $55K, you'd be eligible for overtime pay. The proposed regulation would also automatically update that threshold every 3 years to keep up with the market. So we can verify, yes, a new rule from the Biden administration would expand who's eligible for overtime. But the rule hasn't taken effect yet. It's still in an early stage of the regulatory process, and it could be several months or more before it gets finalized. Similar proposals have faced court challenges in the past, which could further prolong the process. Also, some states can have even higher thresholds than the federal rule, but they can't be lower. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
If you come across a claim that you would like for us to verify, just send us an email to verify@ksdk.com. Members of Missouri Task Force 1 are back in the Show Me State tonight. 15 squad members returned this afternoon after spending a week in Florida to help with the aftermath of Hurricane Idalia. They helped with cleanup efforts and assisting storm victims. This mission comes after they sent teams to help with search and recovery efforts in the Maui wildfires.
I don't think it gets any easier. I just think it gets to be a little more predictable. So I think you learn there's not as many surprises, so to speak. So you kind of understand what's coming and what may be there and what to expect.
The task force says they're always prepared. Training sessions are held every week and they restock supplies immediately after each mission. Meteorologist Gary Frank is in for Scott tonight. He joins us now with the Weather First forecast. And Gary, man, did it cool down out there after we got that rain earlier this evening.
Yeah, we had some rain and it's a little bit cooler than it was, but now we want to look at some of the time lapses because we had a few pop-up showers and storms and some of us got some very heavy rain. In fact, there were some minor damage and power outages briefly, depending on where you were. But look at this time lapse from Arnold. You could see the first round of pop-up showers and storms, and then we saw that main line of storms that settled in and really provided that brief burst of very heavy rain. You can see that right on the camera there. And then a different look here at the airport. You know, you saw a similar setup. Clear skies through most of the day. Clouds built in the afternoon. They didn't quite get much. We had a pop-up shower that cooled us off briefly. We warmed right back up into the 90s. It was hot and humid. And then, of course, those clouds started to really grow as part of that main line of storms that moved through. And that's where we got wind gusts that exceeded 50 miles an hour, as I mentioned. And, you know, many spots had some issues. We also had some really nice photos sent in as part of our weather watchers from Millstadt. You had some weird-looking clouds associated with that from St. Paul, some dark clouds. So, you know, and then after that, we had Steve share this from Forrestal. I mean, very nice sunsets just because of the different clouds and the different heights of the clouds as they were illuminated by that setting sun. Very nice. So thank you so much for sharing those photos. I want to show you how the storm set up because most of it was to the south. We had a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings there where Farmington and areas at VC Raleigh Airport about 59 and 60 mile per hour observed winds. And then that main line moved through and it was about 40 to 50 locally. And right now we have a couple of pop-up showers not out of the question. You'll see that main first line. That was where we saw that wind specifically. And then on the leading edge of that, even another storm that was under that severe thunderstorm warning briefly. You know, we also had this area. That was where the down power lines were, the Montgomery County and Warren County line. Right now, it's not quite as humid. We've seen a little less humidity around, but it's still going to be with us for a little bit. Overnight, not out of the question for a few pop-up showers and storms, but overnight it's still not going to be 75 because we've already dropped. And other than that, and a pop-up shower storm, we're in the upper 60s, right around 70 degrees. Round one, this little disturbance here coming up the Mississippi River Valley, and then this storm right here. This is actually part of a cold front that the leading edge of it may impact us during the day tomorrow, but behind it, that's where I think not only are we going to cool down, become less humid, but that's going to be our next storm threat tomorrow. Maybe in two parts. The first part may be a sprinkle early, and I think the second part is how quickly does that front move through? Right now I'm thinking it's going to be late tomorrow night into early Wednesday morning, and that's going to cool us down significantly. Back into the low 80s, but much better, low 60s in the morning. So a storm will carry that storm into early morning Wednesday, and then the next few days, low 60s, mid 80s, our next chance of rain by next Monday and Tuesday.
I like those cooler temperatures. Thank you, Gary. Now here's Frank with sports.
So why are the Chicago Cubs better than the St. Louis Cardinals? I will explain. Plus the story of a family football dynasty in our area that may be the only one like it in all of America. Stick around, please.
The Sports Desk is sponsored by Jim Butler Chevrolet, the Midwest's #1 Chevy dealer 10 years running.
The lost season for the Cardinals is about to get a whole lot more difficult. In 22 of the next 25 games, they will play a team with a winning record. And tomorrow, they will open up a series with the best team in baseball, the Braves. Today was the first time they didn't play a game on Labor Day since 1994. Not sure if this sentence has ever been uttered, but if the Cardinals ever want to get to the level of the Cubs, they need a pitcher like the Cubs have. His name is Justin Steele. He threw a 2-hitter for 8 innings, and the Cubs beat the Giants 5-0. Steele is now 16-3 on the season. He's the kind of ace the Cardinals are craving. But let's remember, the Cubs only have 3 world championships. The guy behind me, Mr. John Daly, has 2 major championships. He's in town this week for the Ascension Charity Golf Classic in Norwood Hills Country Club. The field of 78 is loaded with stars, including 5 Hall of Famers. Today they had a Monday qualifier, and it had a family affair aspect to it. Take a look at these brothers. This is Britt Pavlonis on the left and Bobby on the right. Bobby is a teaching pro at Norwood. Britt works out of the Carbondale area. Britt came to Norwood today to try and make the field, and as you can see, he had the putter working. He shot a 3 under par, but he came up just short and didn't make the final cut. But he still thinks he's the best golfer in the family.
Who wins in the grudge matches with you and your brother?
If it's golf, it's me. If it's any other sport, it's him.
And he knows you beat him in golf?
Yeah, he does, but he knows he can take me one-on-one. He's been taking me one-on-one in basketball since I was little, so he's got me in all the other sports.
We talk about tradition in sports all the time, the soccer heritage in town, and up until this year, the Cardinals and winning. In high school football, there's actually an incredible tradition on Oakland Avenue. This quarterback throwing the ball is the final member of the family business. St. Louis University High School's football program has been around for 107 years. They've won 637 games, and they've had over 5,700 players. And for almost 2 decades, one name has been with the program, Sansone. This is Marco Sansone, who is continuing the family tradition.
Known for working hard, playing hard, and just being good teammates. Yeah, good guys on the field, but also in the school.
There was Jimmy in 2005, Big in 2006, Nico in 2008, Lan in 2010, Hawk in 2011, Anthony in 2015, and Marco this year. It has to be one of the only schools ever with 7 brothers all playing football and all were captains.
It's awesome. They're very competitive, and they're great leaders.
And they are loyal brothers. Here they are, all 6 of them on Friday night at SLU watching Marco against Timberland. They've come from Nashville to New York to watch their youngest brother. And the young man is a gunslinger. After throwing for 2,300 yards and 22 touchdowns last season, he's firing on all cylinders this season. He threw 4 more touchdowns on Friday night. Of course, it helps he's throwing to the best wide receiver in America in Ryan Wingo.
If I put in his radius, he's going to come down with it.
And the two have known each other since they were 2 years old.
We was really just water boy for our brothers.
Our dads are best friends.
And now Marco is orchestrating the stretch run of the Sansone sustained run at SLU. And he wants to go out in style.
Playing for not only each other, because brotherhood's real here, but also the name on your chest, the alumni who came. And so we're trying to just do really well this year.
What's really awesome about the story is that all 6 of Marco's brothers are there every Friday night cheering him on. I mean, you have to have talent, you have to have athleticism, but when you have that family backing, it really helps an athlete perform. And we wish the Sansone family good luck.
It was really neat seeing all of them on the sidelines there. And man, he really does have a cannon for a right arm.
He does. And he's one of the top quarterbacks in the area. And SLU's got a real chance to make some noise this year.
All right. Thank you very much, Frank. Talk about going into extra innings. The marathon ball game in Missouri that hit one out of the park for charity. 2 Missouri baseball teams are now world record holders. They broke the record for the longest game by playing 100 hours straight this weekend in Kansas City. The final score was 468 to 307, but an even bigger tally was the $300,000 they raised for charity. And it was an early Halloween trick-or-treat from police in Dixon, Illinois. Officers shared a public safety alert on X this weekend about suspicious packages at Walmart with a picture of bags of candy corn. The post reads, upon further investigation, we discovered a level A hazardous material that needed to be isolated and disposed of immediately. The posts include the hashtag worst candy ever and should be illegal. I think I have to agree with them on that. It's kind of like Peeps at Easter time. That's all of our time at 5 on your side at 10 o'clock. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next. Start your day with Today in St. Louis beginning at 4 a.m. Have a great night, St. Louis.